Hi, and welcome back to the Crafty Author. My name is Anissa. I am the Crafty Author, and welcome to my quilting room. Today we are going to continue on with our t-shirt quilt. By now you should have all of your blocks put together, and you should be ready to start joining the rows. So that is what this video tutorial is going to be about today, is we are going to start joining the rows and putting our quilt together. Which I'm really excited because it's fun to watch it all come together. I still have 4 more blocks that I need to sew together, and then I'll be able to start putting all of those rows together. So yay, making some serious progress. Anyway, I had hoped to have them all done today, but that just didn't happen. So you know how it is sometimes, right? Life gets in the way. So what I'm going to be working with here is I have this 2-inch strip. Now, I know when we did the blocks, we did 1.5-inch strips for the back. For the rows, I'm going to use a 2-inch strip. And the reason that I'm going to do this is because it's going to make it so much easier to put those rows together than it will be to be working with a little tiny thin piece of fabric to attach those. So if you want to continue on using 1.5, then feel free to do that, but I'm going to be doing 2 inches. So plus I feel like it stabilizes the quilt more, especially when we're putting it together row by row by row. It's just my personal preference. You can do it however you would like. Whatever works for you is really what you need to do. But for this, I'm going to use 2 inches. Now, you will need 2 of these. So as you can see, I cut this at 2 inches while it was folded in half. So the fabric itself was folded in half and it got cut. So now I have this big long strip. But this big long strip is not long enough for the row. So I need to have another one. And honestly, I could probably cut this one in half and it would fit it. So if you're looking to do that, then you can, but I have plenty of these cut, so I'm not too worried. But what I will do is I will sew these together, and it will make the strip even longer. You can sew it straight across, just across, or you can sew a diagonal seam if you want to. Really, it's up to you how you want to do that. It's not going to matter. So do whatever is easiest and works for you. And then I am going to take my 1-inch strips. Now this I will put on the front. And again, you can put the 1-inch strip on the back and put the 2-inch strip on the front, however you'd like to do that. I just personally put this one on the front. And so again, you're going to need 2 of these long strips here to make it fit the entire length of the row that you're going to sew. So this is what we have right now. I have this all put together. This is what it looks like on the back side. Okay, looking pretty good. So I have to trim these up a little bit because I have some that were a little bit longer and some of my squares are a little bit uneven. So all I'm going to do is just even them up a little bit. I'm not going to do any serious squaring up. Just cutting off what needs to be cut off to make it so that when I start putting the rows together, that those are nice and even. I don't have any unevenness going on because that can throw the whole thing off. It can make the stripping wonky when you go to do your quilt as you go, strips on here and whatnot. So we want to pay attention to that. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim these 2 rows that I have. I'll show you the other one. So this will be the row that we're going to attach to this one. So we're working from the bottom here. So I'm going to go ahead and again, even these up, trim them up, and then we will start putting everything together. I thought I would show you how I trim mine up. So like I said, I don't get too involved in the squaring up process here. I'm going to use my lines on my mat to do this. So I'm just going to move the line here. And going to square that up. I'm going to just move this down a little bit more so I can see where I'm going here. Okay, so there's that. So you can see here that this part is lower than this part and even this part. So that can happen, the shifting can happen when you're sewing. And so you want to make sure that your squares are going to be even when you go to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and trim right here. Just going to trim off that piece. And now this is even with this portion, okay? So now I'm just gonna move this down a little bit more, and I'm gonna try and even this out too. Because as you can see, this portion is much higher. So I wanna make sure that I'm not cutting off, you know, too much. And so I'm just going to line that up there, and I can see that this is how much I need to trim off. I usually just do it to clean them up. And that works pretty well for me. I don't want to get too crazy, but now you can see, just so I'll show you, now you can see that this portion is also even with this one. So now we need to make sure that this one is even here. And you can see that this has a little bit less than this one did. This one, for some reason, was really, really off. It was really large and throwing everything off. So here we go. So you just want to make sure, like I said, that things are looking good before you start doing this. So you'll definitely want to have a ruler, a rotary cutter, and a mat where you can do this. There we go. Okay, so there's that part. And then I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to do it to the bottom part. So now you can see that this is all nice and even. So now when I go to put my row together, I won't have any unevenness or anything sticking out that shouldn't be there. So this one is pretty good. Looks like just a small smidge over here. So I'll just go ahead and do that right now. It's usually really, really a minute thing to trim. But sometimes, like you saw with the other one, you'll get some that are kind of a big discrepancy, and you'll want to take care of that. So now everything with this one is nice and even. So you'll want to do that with all of your pieces once you have them sewn together. All right, so I have sewn my two pieces together. That's what it looks like on the back. I just pressed this little seam open with my fingers. I did the same thing with my 2-inch strip, just finger pressed it. You can press it with an iron if you want to. I'm not gonna worry about that right now. Also, I have my clips. So you're gonna wanna have your clips handy because you're gonna need those, because we're going to be dealing with some very bulky things here. All right, so what I do first, it's just like when we put these blocks together. I'm going to take my strip here, and I am going to leave a little tail hanging off, like right there, probably about a 1/4 inch. And then I'm just going to start clipping. Now, I leave that little tail there just in case it moves when I'm sewing, because it can move, and it does move, especially when you're working with flannel and t-shirts. So knit fabrics and flannel will stretch and they will move. So if you can secure it, that's what you'll want to do the best you can. So you just clip this piece onto your front, or if you're going to use the larger piece, you do that on the front. And then I'm going to cut off some of the excess that I don't need, because I don't need to be dealing with the rest of this, okay? So I will just cut a little bit off, and then I have this much left. So if you're still placing your blocks together, you can use this. No sense in wasting. Now we're ready to put our 2-inch piece on the back. So I do my 1-inch and my 2-inch at the same time. All right, so now we're going to take this piece and we're going to do the same thing. So where we've already clipped, we're going to just clip that on there as well. So, but again, now when I talked about this before, when we were putting this our strips on, we want to make sure that nothing is flipping on the other side. So we want to make sure that everything is nice and flat and flush, because you don't want anything folding, because it will show up. So it's better to catch it now than when you're placing everything together. Okay. Put that on. And again, you can see how quickly this goes. This isn't terribly difficult. Again, I'm going to cut that excess off. I'm going to put another one here where I created that seam. Okay. All right, we are ready to go to the sewing machine. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this just like I did when we did these blocks. So I'm just going to sew my 1/4 inch down, all the way down to attach these strips. So I have the strips sewed on, okay? And now we're going to start attaching our other backing piece. So this is going to be a little more challenging now because our bulk is here. And so this is where you're going to want to kind of take your time. We're going to press this up, but we don't want to press what's underneath it because we're not ready for that part yet. And we want to make sure that we have this piece, our front piece, as flat as we can so that we can attach our other one, our other row to this. All right, so I'm just giving that good press. And now we're going to start attaching. So I'm going to grab this piece. Now this is where you want to be really careful what you're doing. So if we were to put it like this and we flip that up, it's going to be upside down. So what you do is you want to take this next piece that you're going to put on, and that should be upside down towards you. It should face you. And you should have right sides facing each other on here. So when you go to pull this up, once you're done, you have everything facing correctly, okay, in the correct direction. So now we need to line these up. Now this is the tricky part because sometimes it lines up perfectly and sometimes it does not. So if it doesn't, do not get discouraged. Your strippings sometimes do not line up, but sometimes they do. So you really want to try and line everything up as well as you can, okay? So I'm gonna flip this actually, because I'm right-handed and I need to be able to see what I'm doing here. So I'm gonna put these two edges together, and I like to clip it, the two pieces. I actually will clip it with another clip too, to hold my sides together so that they don't shift. And I will do it on the other end as well. But for right now, this is where we're going to start. And I am going to put the strip that we put on here, that we just sewed on and pressed out. I'm going to line that raw edge up with this raw edge of the row that I'm creating here. So you're going to want to put it like that. And now I'm going to just take it back over, and I'm just going to stitch down again with my 1/4 inch seam. All right, so I'm finished doing that. I've sewn that piece on. Let me see if I can show you here. There you go, right there. So now it's time to open this bad boy up and see what we've got going here. Oh boy, it looks pretty good. So this is what we have so far, and this is how we attach our rows. And so this looks pretty good to me. This looks really good. Trim a thread here, it's poking through. All right, so let me pick it up and show you what it looks like so far. That's how we put that row together. Okay, now we're going to flip it over so that we have the backing facing up to us. And now we're going to start folding this over and getting this ready so that we can close up this whole portion. We want to fold up to this stitching line that we just sewed. You'll be able to see it. You can't see it here because I'm using thread that matches, but I'm going to fold to here. And then I'm going to fold over and make sure that that covers that, and it does. So I do know that when I go to stitch this, it is going to be seen on the other side. That is okay for me. If you want it to be thinner, you can actually put it up to this seam here and fold it, and that will make it thinner that way. I don't know. Do I want to do that? I mean, I guess I could, but I just don't mind, I guess. I don't mind when it goes over to the other side. That doesn't bother me as much. So I'm going to stick to my original plan and do it how I want to do it with this one. But if you were doing that, then that's how you would do it. So I am going to do this. I'm going to fold, and then I'm going to press, because I'm going to show you a trick that I probably should have showed you. I don't know why I didn't show you this before, but I'm going to show it to you now, and it's going to make your life a whole lot easier while doing this. So let me just get this all pressed out. Okie dokie. So make sure that you press all of this raw edge back towards your strip here, because you don't want that part showing. So I'm going to start folding, but what I'm going to use, now you can use one of two things. You can either use this adhesive tape, or you can use some Elmer's school glue. So we're going to try some Elmer's school glue here. Oops, I need to open it. And what we're going to do is we're going to run some of this glue right along the edge there. Okay, and what this is going to do is this is going to keep us from having to pin all of this down. So you put your Elmer's glue on there, and then you set your hot iron on top of that for a couple of seconds. sure I got this on here correctly. So you're going to put that there. And you're going to continue to run the bead of glue all the way down your strips and hit it with the iron. All right, so that's done. We're ready to take this to our sewing machine and we are ready to start stitching this down. Now, I do want to tell you that you need to let this cool off a little bit before you go over because it is a little warm. So it's a good time to grab a glass of water or something. Anyway, it will not harm your needle. The glue is not going to break it or anything like that. So yeah, we're just going to head over to the machine and I am going to stitch. I'm going to stitch this portion of it closed. And then I will stitch, I'm thinking I'll probably do a decorative stitch to hold this down and just make it look kind of cool. So I will show you that when I am finished. All right, so that is done. That is probably one of the most tedious parts of doing this, is getting all of those rows sewn together, just because the quilt gets heavier and heavier and you get lots and lots of bulk. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, t-shirt quilts are one of the heaviest quilts that I have ever made. So I just want you to be forewarned of that. They are also really cool, so definitely worth it, but just be forewarned. You'll want to take breaks in between. You don't want to sew this really fast because your arms will get really, really sore. So I'm just telling you that from experience. So I have the row put together and I'm going to show it right there. I think it looks amazing. And then this is what it looks like on the back. And all that I did, so just so you can see what I did here. So remember I told you I was going to put just the decorative stitch to hold that strip together. What it did was it added more of that, I don't know, like that squiggly line here, so it looks more like a starburst now. It's really, really cool. So that's what I love about decorative stitches, and I love about Quilt As You Go, because you can kind of just make it whatever you want. You know, it can be real wonky or whatever. This is what it looks like on the back with those decorative stitches, just so you can kind of see. I did use white thread, so it is a little harder to determine what I did there, but I did want you to see that. So again, look at how cool it is. Yikes! And it's not even 100% put together yet, and I am already really, 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 really excited about it. So I put up a poll asking if you guys wanted me to show you how to do a border on this t-shirt quilt using Quilt As You Go. And the answer was an astounding yes. So we will be adding a border around this quilt, and then we will bind it. So I'm going to teach you how to do that. It is very similar to how we just did the rows, and but you know, we're going to have to put the border together itself, so that might be a task. No, I'm just kidding. It's actually really fun. So anyway, that's what we're going to do there. If you would like to follow me on social media, the links are down below in the description box. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Let's try and get this up to 200 likes so the YouTube algorithm can see us. Don't forget to click that little bell. You'll get notified each and every time that I upload an awesomely cool new video. I upload on Tuesdays and Fridays. And keep on crafting, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.